Pretty much everybody has noticed that the new generation is really fragile. For some reason, we've been teaching people that any idea that offends them should be removed from existence. In fact, you should go your entire life without encountering any differing opinion at all. And if you ever see something you don't agree with, instead of trying to reason out which one is the correct opinion, you'll just start crying and get mad about it. Let's try to find out why America is creating fragile children.
Every generation loves to complain about the generation coming along, but at the same time, there's a very sharp change with kids who were born in 1995 and afterwards, surprisingly sharp. Beginning with kids born in 1995, they spend a lot less time going out with friends. They don't get a driver's license as often. They don't drink as much. They don't go out on dates. They don't work for money as much.
Pretty accurate, not gonna lie.
What are they doing? They're spending a lot more time sitting on their beds with their devices, interacting that way. These are the first kids who got social media when they were 13, roughly. They were subjected to much more anti-bullying content in their schools, much more adult supervision. They were raised in the years after 9/11. They were given much less recess and free play with No Child Left Behind. There was much more testing pushed down into earlier grades. So in a lot of ways, Gen Z has been denied the independence, the independent play that previous generations got. Gen Z,
honestly, that was an understatement. He said that kids get iPads at age 13. I don't know, man. Nowadays it's at like age 3, like legitimately. I don't even know how these toddlers can operate an iPad, but apparently they can.
Has been raised with what's called moral dependency. There's always been an adult there for them to go to, and so we don't know if this is for sure the reason, but they seem to have more difficulty working out problems on their own. When we protect children from unpleasantness, from conflicts, from insults, from teasing, from exclusion, we are setting them up to be weak, to be more easily damaged, to be more easily discouraged.
True. Resilient kids in an offensive world.
In the 1990s, as the crime rate was plummeting, as American life was getting safer and safer, Americans freaked out and thought that if they take their eyes off their children, the children will be abducted. The fear was stoked by cable TV in the 1980s. There were a few high-profile abductions.
Last year, 50,000 children disappeared, many of them from nice, safe neighborhoods.
That's a weird ad.
It's okay. Come on, help me.
Talk to your children about not talking to strangers, and do it today.
But it's not until the 1990s that we really start locking kids up and saying, you cannot be outside until you're 14 or 15. Lenore Skenazy, who wrote the book Free Range Kids, she became famous as America's worst mom because in 2009, she let her 9-year-old son ride the New York City subway. Not only did he survive, he was thrilled. He felt he'd learned something. He felt he could go out into the world. We took this essential...
Okay, this guy's bringing up a lot of points that I honestly didn't expect. I thought he was going to talk more about like social media and stuff. I guess he gets to it later in the video, but there's a lot of information I just didn't know genuinely, that people were keeping kids inside in fear of like abduction and stuff. That's pretty interesting.
Period of childhood from about 8 to 12, when kids throughout history have practiced independence, have gotten into adventures, have made rafts and floated down the Mississippi River. We took that period and said, you don't get to practice independence until it's too late, until that period is over. Now, a couple years before you go to college, now you can go outside. Oh, okay, go off to college. And a lot of them are not ready. They're just not used to being independent. When they get to college, they need more help. They're asking adults for more help. Protect me from this. Punish him for saying that. Protect me from that book. Students are thinking in terms of safety and danger.
That is so true right now. We have all these kids just like expecting other people to do their work for them. So like if they see like an offensive idea on the internet or something, instead of like engaging with it or asking questions or saying that, okay, explain your side of the argument, they'll just ask like these platforms to ban them completely. Just get rid of them. I don't want to see them anymore, which is obviously keeps you in this sort of echo chamber and stuff. And it's particularly weird at these hyper, I don't know, Ivy colleges and stuff. They're like particularly insane there.
Say, by their own admission, they are more fragile. They use a language of fragility, weakness, trauma, triggering. They see triggers all over the world.
Cringe,
what are triggers? Triggers are cases where you take a part of your nervous system and you say, if someone says that word, they can control my nervous system and make me afraid and anxious. That's a terrible idea. We should not be teaching our kids to see the world as...
No, these people are idiots, okay? They basically think that, okay, I have set it in my mind that, okay, this word is going to trigger me and it's going to get this large unprovoked emotional reaction out of me when you're the one who set up the goddamn trigger. You can remove it any day of the week, okay? You can't let someone else have that much control over you. You're just gonna end up a mess of a human being. Like, I genuinely don't understand this. Like, if it's uncontrollable, right, then I totally get it. But if you are setting the boundaries yourself, particularly with nowadays with like speech and stuff like that, if somebody says something to you that you don't like, or, you know, even if they address you in a different way, why do you get triggered by that? It's them, right? Like, it's like, if it's that easy to get under your skin, how are you possibly going to survive in the real world? I think they're just expecting the real world to just be catered to their whim. But that's a horrible idea. You're just going to be, I don't know, perpetually avoiding problems in your life, I guess.
Being full of triggers. We should teach them to live in a world that is physically quite safe, but full of offensive statements and ideas.
Amazing. Okay, that's exactly what it should be.
Bottom line is that if we want to raise a generation of kids who can deal with diversity of all kinds, who can go out into a world that's physically actually quite safe, but yet full of offensive content, we need to get our educational practices in line with some very basic, important psychological principles. We are all prone to motivated reasoning and the confirmation bias, and we're all prone to tribalism and black and white thinking. We need to be educating kids so that they do less of this stuff. Always trust your feelings. It may sound wise, it may sound romantic, but wise people around the world have noticed that we don't react to the world as it actually is. We react to the constructions, the perceptions. Epictetus said, "It is not things themselves."
Okay, all right. Quoting Epictetus, I knew we thought similar, but all right, classic philosophy. It is not things themselves that disturb us, but our interpretation of things. Exactly. So I tried to explain this to somebody the other day, and they just looked at me like I was a crazy person. But I basically said that the world doesn't even exist, okay? So like your table is not a table, your chair is not a chair. It is the construction in your mind that has created that image. Like, the table might not even look like a table, okay? It's just our perception of it as a human being. If an alien comes to Earth and looks at the same table, he might see something completely different, okay? Completely different set of colors, completely different, I don't know, arrangement of things. I mean, I guess the molecular structure would be the same, but whatever. You get what I mean. Basically, our mind creates our reality, right? And if you attach these triggers in your mind, obviously you're gonna think a situation is much worse than it is, right? So this happens all the time. And like when you see people having these freakouts and meltdowns that everybody makes fun of on the internet because some of the people are sane, and they look at this stuff and they're like, how does something trigger you so much that you're a grown adult screaming in public like a complete nut job, and you think you're in the right, and there's like a whole group of people who support all of this. It's really weird. Like, I don't know. Whenever you get into a little bit of philosophy and stuff, you start to realize more about our world.
That disturb us, but our interpretations of things. All of us have had experiences of these. One thing I like to think about is Homer Simpson saying, "Shut up, brain, or I'll stab you with a Q-tip." Our brains do this. Our brains go on, and we're like, stop it, stop it, stop it. What we've begun seeing on campus is that students are encouraged to follow their feelings. If they feel offended by something, then they have been attacked. They're supposed to not question those feelings. But
whoa, buddy, don't want to get banned off the platform real quick. No, getting kind of dicey over here. So, speaking common sense, this is a bannable offense on YouTube. I don't know.
Ability to say, now wait a second, are there other ways to look at this? These are crucial skills for critical thinking. These are crucial skills for mental health. And we need to be teaching young people at all stages to question their first interpretations, look for evidence, and improve the way they interpret the world. CBT is just a way of teaching people skills to do exactly.
My brain immediately went to, you know what it went to.
To question their feelings, to look for evidence. So in CBT, you learn the names of these distortions, about 15 or so distortions. You can guess what they mean. Catastrophizing, black and white thinking, labeling, mind reading. Aaron Beck, a psychiatrist in the 1960s, noticed that depressed and anxious people have a way of constructing these beliefs that I'm bad, the future is bad, my future, the world is a bad place, and they're mutually reinforcing. And this is the way the world feels to them. And if you can improve their thinking and break up those beliefs, they're released from the depression. Cognitive behavioral therapy is not more effective than several other treatments. Most treatments are about equally effective, but it's so easy to learn. Other techniques like meditation work, but they're harder. Most people drop off. So CBT is easy, really well tested, has a huge impact on a variety of mental illnesses, especially those related to depression and anxiety.
Yeah, I found out that, the treatments that work the best are logical in nature. And when people can reason out something in their head and they understand it, they're more likely to accept it, right? So people view the world as largely black and white, which is why people are just unable to argue on the internet at all. It's my way or the highway all the time, right? There's no such thing as nuance on the internet, possibly, right? As someone who makes like topic commentary and stuff, there's a very strong emotional reaction every single time because there's a right side and a wrong side. And if you ever try to give a little credibility to the wrong side, being like, okay, I understand this perspective, people start losing you immediately because that emotional reaction just kind of takes over, right? It's really sad to see, but I don't know. I feel like through videos like these, we can start to question some of our thinking, question that, hey, maybe we need to look at things in a different way. Maybe life isn't so depressing as we make it out to be. Maybe it's just how we are forming our own worldview, right? All these bad things are happening. Why are they happening? Why is this person saying this and why is it offending me? Instead of thinking that, okay, this thing is the thing that offends me, think about why does it offend you? Did I make it offend me? Can I make it not offend me? I think you can. You can just choose not to be offended by things. It's pretty easy, honestly.
We think every college student, and heck, every high school student, should be taught these basic skills, given how high the rates of anxiety and depression are today. Life is a battle between good people and evil people.
Facts.
If you think about it for a moment, who are we? What is our species? We evolved in small-scale societies that were locked in struggle with other small-scale societies. Human nature is really, really finely tailored for intergroup conflict, for tribal warfare. This is the way our ancestors lived for a long time. Now that we've transcended it, we're so desperate for it, we've invented team sports, fraternities. We love these sorts of competitions. Our brains are made for it. Now, it can be fun, or it can get dark and
people love forming groups, right? This is why political sphere is so charged, right? Because people love being like, I'm good, this other team sucks. Same thing in sports. You'll see people just like cult-like in a sense, and same thing with religions, atheists, all of that, like cult-like in a sense where they're unable to see any different perspectives at all, and it's kind of just built into our human biology.
Lead to racism, all kinds of forms.
Yeah,
of
he's just saying the same shit like immediately after.
And in some high schools, we see forms of education, forms of training that teach students to make more and more distinctions, to see more and more binary dimensions between people, where the people who are high are bad, the people who are low are good. When we talk about identity politics, which is a controversial topic, we start by saying, of course you need identity politics. Identity politics is not a bad thing automatically. Politics can be based on any distinction. It can be based on any group interest. So for gay students or black students or women to organize, that's identity politics. That's perfectly legitimate. The question is, how are they organizing? What's the overarching framework? And we've seen two versions of it in American history. You can do it the way most of the civil rights leaders did it, Martin Luther King in particular, where you draw a larger circle around the group, you emphasize what we have in common, and then you say, some of our brothers and sisters are being denied equal access, equal opportunity, or equal dignity. That works. That has worked historically in much tougher times and zones, and that works and will work on college campuses. The other way you do it, which is growing on college campuses, is common enemy identity politics. It's based on the Bedouin notion, me against my brother, me and my brother against our cousin, me, my brother and cousin against the stranger. It's a very general principle of social psychology. If you try to unite people, let's all unite against them. They're the bad people. They're the cause of the...
That is actually one of the most effective ways to unite people. Common enemy all the time. That's just why you'll always see these groups of people unite against something, okay? which random leader is up there, they'll be like, everybody against this guy. Then we all have something to talk about, all have something to discuss. Okay, we might not agree on everything else, but we all hate this guy, so we're all friends. But, obviously clouds your judgment, clouds your thinking.
The problems. Let's all stick together. That's a really dangerous thing to do in a multi-ethnic society, especially in a university where we're actually all trying to work together to solve the problem. If we're creating multi-ethnic environments on campuses, and in most of our organizations we're struggling to increase diversity, what you should obviously be doing is turning down the tribal sentiments, is emphasizing what we have in common. Identity politics done with a common humanity frame is a good thing and is likely to work. Identity politics done by uniting everybody against the people with power and privilege, one race versus another race, one gender versus another gender.
Facts.
This is madness. This is a really bad idea if you're trying to emphasize and increase diversity and inclusion.
Well, he's obviously talking about just, I don't know, people just hating white people, for example. That's like one example of it, or anything else. Basically, these people are just born privileged or something. Let's all unite together and hate all of them, right? And they try to correct it in these very weird ways by like inserting unqualified people in unqualified positions just to fill like quotas and stuff, which is obviously just gonna result in horrible things, right? You get like unqualified doctors, unqualified professionals in various fields and stuff, definitely in politics and stuff. So whatever, man. It's a hard problem to fix, obviously. But the way people are going about it nowadays is just not good.
Call that common enemy identity politics. The more we encourage people to see the people around them as good versus evil, the harder it's going to be to create an inclusive, diverse environment.
Thank you.
Right. And in general, nothing is actually good or evil. It's just our perception of it, right? And it's like it's just arbitrary rules we've created that say that this person is good and this person is evil. Look at it, like if you look at any like TV show or whatever villain, the villain always thinks he's also a hero, right? It's always the other way around, different perspectives. Anyways, super interesting video. It's always nice to see like experts talk about these topics.